Hello, everyone. Really excited to welcome you all to this month's edition of the Content Market Webinars by DICM. My name's Amit, and I am the Global Insights Director at Parrot Analytics, and we have an amazing panel here today. Just wanted to get everyone to very briefly introduce themselves, starting with Rani from NBC.
Hi, how are you guys? How's everyone? My name is Rani Sukkari. I'm the Director of Marketing for NBC Group. I handle mainly NBC One, Iraq, and NBC Drama. Um, Looking forward for today's session.
Thanks, Rani. And then Tanvi from Z.
Hi everyone, Tanvi here. I handle content and marketing at Z Entertainment Middle East. Over the past 14 years, I have worked across the spectrum of content and marketing, from television production to digital strategy. Looking forward to today's session. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanvi. And then finally, Fatma.
Hi everyone. I'm happy to having me here. I'm Fatma Mansy, starting as a line producer with one of the biggest production houses in Middle East, Al Group. I had the opportunity to participate in several big hits like سجن النساء, تحت السيطرة, حارة اليهود, so on. And then I launched Watch It with UMS in 2019. Also, I joined VSI Egypt for dubbing as a dubbing operations director. And finally, now I'm creative producer, freelancer. Looking forward to discuss content.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. This session is designed and backed by data, and I'll talk a bit about what Parrot Analytics do and give a bit of a recap. But essentially, we will be going through the global content trends, what genres are winning hearts in 2025. That's the overall arching theme and topic of today. And keen to sort of get the panelists involved, and it will be a very interactive session, and we'll pause at each stage of the presentation and field questions, and we'll love to get everyone's questions towards the end of the session, and we can start to answer those as well. So for those of you who haven't come across Parrot Analytics, and here's a very brief recap and introduction on what we do here at Parrot. We essentially track the attention economy. And this is a study that came out of Harvard many, many years ago. And we've since leveraged this thesis to build on our proprietary metric that we call demand. The attention economy recognizes now that time is the most valuable resource on the planet. And with audiences now discovering content in far more fragmented and unpredictable ways, traditional measurement is no longer the one source of truth and tells the full story. So we sit at the intersection of both the supply and the demand side, and we set out to capture all digital touch points across 3 billion consumers throughout the media entertainment industry. Our demand metric is weighted as a proxy for time and attention spent on each signal that we track. And because we sit at that intersection, we're also uniquely positioned to understand and even quantify pricing power. Here's more of a visual representation about what we do here at Parrot. And imagine a typical user journey from the first point of discovering a piece of content or a film or a talent, all the way through to watching an episode, season, or series. Let's highlight some of those touch points that we track and analyze across a very fragmented and ever-expanding platform landscape. So from search, social media engagement, to short-form video clips, trailers, extras, right through to streaming and downloading the content itself. So this is the point I wanted to pause and really open this up to the panel and talk about, in a world where audiences are more fragmented than ever, how are each of you thinking about adapting platform strategies to meet them where they are? Whether it's through content formats, distribution tactics, or even tech, what's actually working? So the floor is yours, guys. Keen to hear some comments and feedback.
Ladies first.
Okay. So, see, in today's world, there's no one size fits all anymore. So it's not just about linear TV. There are different audiences sitting on different screens. So what we need today is a multi-platform approach. So where you're not just focusing on linear TV, you're focusing on OTT platforms, your digital mediums, which includes your YouTube and social media, as well as fast channels, your connected TVs. So this is something which I think brands should look forward to if we have to, cater to wider audience. So now for us at Z, we are spread across our OTT platform, which is Z5. We have our linear channels, and then we make content which is in snackable edits for digital, social media, YouTube digital edits as well. And apart from this, when I say fast channels, if I were to give an example, Zia Film and Zia One are our linear TV channels, satellite linear TV channels, but they're also present on Fast, which is a connected medium. So you have to be there where your audience are. That's the key if we have to move forward. Thank you. Rani?
Um, as said, well said. Yeah. Well, at NBC, obviously, we have the multiple touch points with our audience, whether it's linear, that works for a certain audience. We have the OTT, we have our subscription model, the SVOD, and we have the AVOD. We have fast channels. And obviously, from a business standpoint, the idea here is to address the different audience, the different mindsets, the different how where they are, and bring them back, whether they want to come and watch it on linear TV, it's present, whether they want to get the convenience and watch it on SVOD at their time and their own time. They want to binge, they want to do. Obviously it's a as Tanvi was saying, it's a multi-platform approach. But what we do is we carry this emotional arc that the content brings into different platforms. So we take the piece of content that we are showing, whether it's on Shahid, whether it's on TV, this piece of content, and we play it and cut it and do snippets about it in order to eventually drive these people to wherever, be it TV or catch up. I just wanted to tell you, we did a study this year on the segmentation in Saudi, and we dug deep into the Saudi audience. So today, we obviously the segmentation talks about the demographics, psychographics, which is the consumer behavior, but we also go through the psychology, the mindset, the values, what drives people to watch, and that's what content is king. So a good piece of content can be watched anywhere. So today, when I tell you, it's not only about the voice, it's about the journey of this contestant that reached the voice. And for Top Chef, it's not about the winning contestant who's a great cook. It's about how the dish looks. It's the what I call the sexiness of the food that it brings out. We create content, for example, when it comes to drama, we take the characters beyond how they see them on screen, and we put that across the different platforms. The idea here is to get these people engaged, and to get the audience relatable. Building what's it called? The word building relevance with the audience is key. And so today, if I have a character, and this character is we shoot it in a way and we create content on social media that plays around what this character is, but you don't see that character or that whatever piece of content, you don't see it on screen. So we try to utilize that in order to try to take the audience wherever they want, they can get to watch it. So today we know that TV is older generation. So what we try to do is drive this older generation to the TV. But the Gen Zs, it's a bit difficult to drive them there. So we take them to the OTT. That doesn't mean that obviously it's a different discussion, but that doesn't mean that the younger audience who watch TV, they do, but it's certain slots. So what we try to do here is to try to be present everywhere. The uniqueness of the experience of the platform, the audience, and how we talk to. So we have like for one type of show, we might have three different types of content and creatives on different platforms to talk to them. So someone who is into the love triangle will see the poster or will see the ad that talks about love, but someone who is into horror and whatever, they will see that side to drive them to the same content that we're trying to push.
Uh, I totally agree with my colleagues. Yes, we can say that one size fits all. And also, I agree with Rani. We should have more research and more numbers because now demand is huge, and also we have to targeting specific demographics or Gen Z, especially. We are now all looking to targeting Gen Z. And also regarding linear TV, actually we have two examples with NBC and Shahid and UMS and Watch It. Shahid and Watch It, even with their originals, they always keen to have a second run on their linear TV. So TV is still alive. We can't deny, but we should have different strategy for OTT. So that's it.
Thank you. And that's a brilliant segue into the next question. So I guess just to preface this, not too long ago, TV viewing was centered around a single remote control in a shared living room with just 4 or 5 channels that we had at our disposal. And fast forward to today, we're deep into the streaming era with proliferation of multiple platforms and really tailored and personalized experiences on a demographic level. And with that in mind, I'd love to really hear your thoughts on what role does linear TV still play in content and platform strategy today?
Okay, let me take this one. So basically, we are at an age, like you said, content lives everywhere. I still believe that linear TV still delivers scale and shareable experience. So today, we've shifted from TV being a destination to a launch pad, launching pad for the different content, whether it's drama, whether it's unscripted, and what have you. So here's the idea that when we create content, obviously, content. Let's say if it's going to live on DV and OTT, there is the what I call the ripple effect that goes across the different digital platforms. So today, the issue with TV is not content. The issue with TV is trying to get that content, which content is king, and that what I call TV content, reaching these audience across the different platforms. And today, impact of brands on TV is high. So that's why I try to always to say that TV is not dying, despite what other people are saying, despite what the people who are watching us says. I don't watch TV. Yes, but it's not dying. It is now most of the content that we see across the platforms is TV content. So in today's world, I think linear TV plays a role of, look, I believe that TV today is becoming, eventually it will be the live TV. There has been, and I think this is what we'll talk about later, there has been a lot of OTT platforms are moving into unscripted, but I still believe in our part of the world, unscripted is still owned by the linear TV. Today, you cannot watch a voice or you cannot watch a competition or a game show later on as a catch up or something. It's because what TV today does and what linear today does is today we sit and watch this piece of content in order for our second screen to happen. So I want to talk about it. I want to share it. I want to push it. And when there is a voice on Idol or a voice that everyone is talking about, I will be the first to tweet. That's one. Two, linear TV is communal or family viewing. Whether it's drama, whether it's unscripted, when there is a commonality in the storyline and in the content, we talk. As you know, I'm sitting with my family or sitting with my friends, we talk about this certain incident or this certain character or this certain voice or this certain dish or this certain. So live TV is where it's going. So 1970s and 60s TV was live. I think this is where TV is going today and in the future. Obviously, time spent is going down. Let's be realistic. Obviously, the young generation are more in on the digital front, but we have seen cases where, and I'm speaking drama, I'm not speaking voice, I'm not speaking idols, I'm not speaking big formats here. We have seen where content such as which we'll talk about later, Shari' al-A'sha, Kharif al-Qarb, certain dramas have actually driven people to sit and watch it. The younger audience have sit and watch TV because it's something that they can converse, especially if this content or this storyline is strong enough that is shareable. It resonates with the audience. It has some sort of nostalgic cultural significance. You will see this. TV does it. You cannot go and create. You cannot go watch a drama on OTT at your own time and create a story around it. It's when people are talking about it. This is what I think linear TV plays a big role in.
Amazing. Thank you, Rani. You raised some interesting points. It's a topic which is still very much up for debate and interesting to see how this plays out in the next 10 to 20 years as the younger generations grow older and see how their habits shift in time.
Actually,
Absolutely.
I have also another point for TV still alive by numbers, that sports had a big growth year over year, and the majority of sports broadcasting, it's live matches, live competitions. So we still TV alive, and
I agree.
explains
Yeah.
the growth actually of sports.
Yeah.
Look,
See,
I have to quote
we,
her. I have to quote our CEO once when I asked him. I told you this before. I asked Mike, who came newly on board. I asked him, since he's coming from the Western side, is TV dying? And he told me that if you are in a conference and people are saying TV is dying, just walk out of this conference.
Exactly.
So definitely, I'm not saying this does not kill the aspect of what how OTT is growing and digital is growing. We're not saying that, but this continuous statements of TV is dying, I don't think it is.
I agree. And I'd like to add two more points to this conversation. So, see, I don't think so TV is going anywhere. It's just sharing the spotlight with other platforms. That's how it is. And it will remain a powerful medium where, because it's for family viewing, right? So, television or linear, it's mainly for family viewing. So, that content will remain. The question then comes do we have like TV versus OTT? But that's also not valid because I think it's about coexistence. So your content can travel on TV and then on OTT and other platforms. It depends what type of content you're featuring and for what type of audience you're talking about. So a drama show can work for linear as well as for OTT. But you have to see which type of audience you're catering to. And in India, still 60 to 70% of original content is being produced primarily for TV audience. So this is a
Yeah.
huge number. So if you're still producing it, that means people are watching television, which is linear. So yeah, I think it's about today's ecosystem where we all can exist and make content for relevant audience on their relevant platform to reach a wider
Also,
And
audience.
it's key, the type of storyline that you put. So today, a
Yeah,
controversial storyline that talks about killing, sorry, rape or something like
yeah,
that. I don't think people are comfortable to watch it with their
family.
with their family. But soap operas, for example, internationally, soap operas are made for TV. I don't
Right.
think they score as much. I'm not talking about not talking about probably India or China, but I'm talking about like Coronation Street in the UK. It's something that has been watched mostly on TV. The type of content, the soap opera, doesn't have high-end class celebrities in it. The storyline is an everyday, sometimes we call it cheesy storyline, but it fits TV. It works so well on TV. People want to watch it on TV, and we've seen that personally. Obviously, soap opera in this part of the world is stems from the cultural values and the cultural habits of each country. So when we did as NBC a couple of soap operas on our screen, we found that it did not do that well on OTT on Shahid, but it was doing magnificently on TV. Whether it's escapism, whether you're putting it and you're watching it and you're still talking, you don't miss. You can miss 10 episodes and you still know the storyline. And I think this is the beauty of such content where it lives long and 250 episodes, you can come in episode 50 and still understand what's happening. This type of content works on TV.
Plus, it has a
actually,
recall value as well.
Exactly.
linear TV still alive, and streaming platform also will still alive with the micro dramas. We are shifting now to micro dramas. like Disney Plus, just for example, a small example, acquired micro dramas, French micro dramas for third season called Bref, and also with the shorts on Shahid. I think Rani can confirm it's a huge shifting or a huge viewership also.
Yeah,
So we are
true.
fasting evolving.
Yeah.
Amazing. There's really good topic of conversation here. So conscious we've got so much more to talk around. So let's fast forward into, and we're getting all of your questions in, so we will field those towards the end of the presentation. But we've put some charts together on some of the key trends that we've witnessed. This is super high level, and this essentially looks at the global demand for all content by main genre. Now, we don't see much variation in the year-on-year growth index, and we're looking at the year-to-date year-on-year growth index here. We see a slight jump in the demand for animation growing year-on-year. Drama still remains the top genre despite a slight slowdown, but that's been the case for many, many years. It feels like we've hit a ceiling with drama. So if there is drama productions on a global level, you will face increased competition and it will be harder to cut through because there's so much drama out there, but it still remains the number one most in demand genre. And then others to note on the all content trend is action and adventure has taken a sharp decline as sports and factual gain slight momentum. So we reproduced this chart, but specifically for Arabic content this year. And what's really interesting is that drama and comedy dominate Arabic content production. And this accounts for 77% in terms of demand, 77% of total, compared to 50% when we look at the all content average and benchmark. So wanted to open up the floor again to see if you had any points or talking points of interest for this particular slide. I know there was a lean in on unscripted, particularly variety, and when Rani, you're talking about the shiny floor formats, that comes under the variety umbrella within this data set. So any points here to raise?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We've seen this. I think we after 2020 we went a bit dry on formats airing it, and once we started getting back to the Arabs Got Talent, Saudi Idols that we produced, we realized that we were recruiting more audience that were not there on TV before. And this shows you that when you have a strong content on unscripted, and especially the big formats that already have the ripple effect from outside and people know about it, it has actually gained a lot of audience back, and we see all age groups on TV. Because of, just like I told you, people want to watch it because they want to see the recencies, like football. I'm not gonna watch the football later. Same thing. I will not watch a live, where I know the winner of the voice would be or idol would be. I would not watch it later. So we've seen a huge spark and demand and thirst in the market on this. Football shows, and this is a live example. We stopped. We had a legacy sports show called Sada Al Mala'ib that has been running for over 20 years on our screen. We stopped that, and we launched a very Saudi focused football show, and we saw the males coming to our screens. People are engaging heavily on the screen, and it's just a small tweak that we did, and there is a thirst, especially when you want to hear things about football, specifically football and Saudi. And as you guys know, Saudi football is on a trajectory. We saw a huge people coming to a screen. Well, everyone thought that Saudi football is only seen as a match and you leave. No, people want to see here, and especially with Saudi football, it's about the controversy, the clubs, all this. What I call the fights between the clubs, and my club is better than your club, and all of that, and we see a lot of people that are coming and watching, and the slot actually grew a little bit in terms
Like
of
in
that.
Egypt, exactly.
Exactly. Also, we've seen a lot of, now looking more of a holistic, taking a step back. I mean, factual entertainment is growing massively in this part
Yes.
of the world. We've tried it on Shahid, the documentaries, especially around celebrities. obviously still a niche, but it's growing. And there is a potential. And docudrama generally, if you look at docudrama in internationally and globally, it's growing where they are acting whatever is happening on this drama. This is, I think, getting a lot of traction also internally. So again, it's just the fact that uh, and just one more, comedy is comedy. What I believe, comedy is very limited in terms of, it's very there's Saudi comedy that is understandable by UAE, but it might not be understandable by Egyptians. However, Egyptian comedy is due to the historical aspect of Egypt being the leader in all forms of entertainment since the 1920s. We have accepted, and the growth of it has reached. But comedy is yani, we still play Tash Matash currently on our screens, and Tash Matash has been running for has stopped for, I think, the past 10 years, the last time we had Tash Matash. And we still air episodes that are old, and it still gets viewers, and it still gets the ratings, and it still gets the money even from that. So comedy doesn't die. And comedy is massive, in Ramadan is a different animal. We have 3 slots of comedy. This is where the money, the viewership, everything comes in Ramadan. You cannot go wrong with comedy. The only thing is, with comedy, you just have to make it. It's a thin line between being funny and being silly.
And also
That's
like أشغال شقة, like
exactly,
أشغال شقة last Ramadan and Ramadan before. 2 seasons
exactly,
were hit. Yes.
exactly.
Amazing. Yeah. On our longevity scale from evergreen to zeitgeist, comedy is always on the evergreen with regards to high longevity. So I hear your point there. One other point you raised was about the Saudi Pro League. Our CEO presented some insight back in Feb during the Saudi Media Forum. It's actually now the fourth most in demand football league globally. So mind-blowing export pace, and we don't see any signs of that slowing down. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. And in
Yeah,
terms of
exactly.
audiences, especially the hardcore football fans, the younger generation, they are very hungry for ancillary content in terms of clips and extras, especially off season. So producing and catering towards that demographic with regards to sports and unscripted in general, and the clippability and extras of that kind of content can have real reward.
Absolutely.
Cool. So moving on, we couldn't talk about Arabic content without mentioning the anchor, which is Ramadan. Now, Arabic content demand closely tracks supply, and Ramadan is still very, very key in terms of a release window. In some years, the season has generated up to $500 million, making it the single most valuable period for Arabic content. And given the continued dominance of Ramadan in the Arabic calendar, how are platforms and creators thinking about growth outside of that window? Is there an opportunity to build more year-round demand, or does Ramadan remain too central to shift away from?
Going back to your first slide about supply and demand, I think we've oversupplied in Ramadan content that forced the audience to come and watch it in Ramadan. I'm not saying that so Ramadan became a season. I always say that Ramadan is depending when you were born. I feel you're in the 1970s and 80s, where TV leads in terms of viewership, like the 70s and 80s. As I'm not saying that OTT doesn't work, obviously, and not social media, but people gather because it's a family, especially in the Arab world, it's a family thing. After you eat, you want to sit and watch the comedies and watch your series and want to talk about it and laugh and cry and what have you. But I believe due to the lack of the growth of OTT generally before, the market shifted into Ramadan, and everyone, uh, their biggest spenders, their biggest, creation of content happens in our drama, specifically happens in Ramadan. And Ramadan is hands down a drama driven month. I think now with the growth of other OTT platforms, be it, I think Shahid was a big reason why this growth is happening, and you're starting to see probably a slight shift of supply happening outside Ramadan due to the demand of Shahid. And obviously, watch it in Egypt is taking growth, and the other players that are coming now and slowly growing in the region, whether coming out from, whether it's an international such as Netflix, whether it's Yango, whether it's X, there is now a bit of a higher demand that is creating this slight pickup outside. Let's call it outside Ramadan. Will we see a pickup? In my opinion, yes, we will see a pickup happening. But will it be a Ramadan pickup or a similar pickup or spike in Ramadan? I really doubt. Yani, unless we get, God forbid, another pandemic where everyone is sitting down, and we already have enough content to supply. We will not see Ramadan. Will stay a Ramadan until anything happens. Ramadan will keep on being what Ramadan is in terms of both supply and demand and the content that is seen then and there.
I think what's mainly make Ramadan a peak season also advertising. There's a huge budget from advertisers, especially for Ramadan. So I think that the motive for making Ramadan a peak season like this.
Amazing. Okay. So if we drill down further, we can start to unpick the subgenre demands. Now, there's three different verticals, and we're introducing Indian content into the equation. So I'm going to pass to Tanvi in a minute. But what we're seeing is really clear regional storytelling differences. Arabic content leans towards family-driven narratives, whilst Indian content favors more romantic drama and soap operas. Global hits like animation and fantasy have less traction locally, but they resonate on a global level across all content. So how are you balancing local relevance with global appeal is the question, and content still travel at scale? But Tanvi, I really wanted to zoom in on the Indian content trends here and get your thoughts as to how that stacks up against all content and Arabic content also.
So for Indian content, see, the beauty is we produce at least 200,000 hours of content in a year. So that means we have a variety of content which can cater to viewers' choice, which is, as you can see, crime dramas is recently coming up in terms of genres. Otherwise, it's mostly romance and family dramas. This is what has been worked in the past. Apart from comedy, comedy is a standard genre, I think, which works anytime in any of the years. If you look at the past data, comedy has worked. But this year, crime dramas have picked up, especially one or two content from Z5 also has come up, which is Abhi Sirf Ek Banda Baki Hai. So yes, thriller is something which is working on OTT platforms because that is quick. It doesn't need much of your time. So these are all fast edits. That's why it's working as per me. And in terms of other content, which is your romance and drama, that is a clean content which you can watch at any time of point with family viewing as well. So this type of content is working in that sense. Also, I think now we're thinking about content in terms of global viewership rather than just Indian viewership. So the dramas or the shows are not made for singular audience. The production values have increased. The cultural adaptability has improved. So these little elements, those adds up to the content and makes it appealable to other global audiences. So that's what I believe in.
Brilliant. And then I guess zooming in on a titular level here are some of the top new releases. And the caveat here is this is global demand by new releases year to date. So if we look at this through an Egyptian lens or a British lens or a US lens, we have the ability to cut these charts by different market. You'll get very, very different lists. But what this concentrates on is the average global demand across new releases this year. And again, what's interesting for me is Arabic hits are largely driven by local players and a very diverse platform mix, whilst Indian originals are mostly SVODs within that top list. It feels like a key moment to lean into more premium Arabic drama with global appeal. So I would love to get your thoughts on that. Is it time to scale up and invest more internationally in Arabic storytelling? And again, Tanvi, if you have any thoughts on some of those titles within that Indian content list, it'd be great to hear.
Look, definitely. Look, I think now the concentration when it comes to, we're still in the Arabic world. We're still focused internally. The money is there, and everyone is catering for a market that is thirsty and hungry. So is there a potential for growth? Yes, for sure. Have we broken that? You've seen storylines like Shari al-Asha, for example. I have in Ramadan that aired, that was a landslide. We won a lot of prizes on it. This has a bit broke the barrier because the storyline is strong. The production was great. The whole setup was right. I think one of the issues that I think that stops Arabic content from going globally, it's the what I believe the cultural constraints. For something to go global, it has to be bold, it has to be controversial, it has to have a storyline that wakes up. But in our, because of the religious cultural, it just pulls you back. You cannot be as open, you cannot talk about certain stuff that probably international and global media talks about. We're a bit, I feel they're a bit reserved when it comes to that. And also, I think the dialect plays a big role. How are you going to dub it? What will you dub it in? Am I gonna dub? When it comes to Indian and Turkish, we dub it in Syrian. Don't ask me why. I think it just worked when we did it with our friends in Turkey when we started, and I think everyone accepted that type of
Yes.
dubbing. But then there is obviously the growth of subtitles. So people who consume Korean and Chinese and will want to hear the mother tongue, especially the young audience. But today, if I'm gonna subtitle it or dub it, what do I dub it in? Is it English, French, and how will I say it? So I think there's a lot. And plus, I think the whole distribution model globally doesn't is not that great. I think that's what's limiting, in my opinion, the Arabic content from growing globally, in comparison to the Indian content, the Turkish content, the Korean content, the Chinese content that I think we're going to talk about. It's growing massively on a global scale. I think these are one of the key issues on why Arabic content is not breaking out that much.
But I think also the demand of Arabic content will rise. Yes, it's difficult to travel now, and I agree with Rani for the dialectal of Arabic language. It's a difficult language, and difficult to dub. But actually, for culture issues, Rani, I think that a streaming platform um, change the game, because now on platforms you can have a storyline completely different than 10 years ago.
100%, 100%. Yes, yes, I agree. But I'm saying, is it as controversial or strong to grab the global audience? That's my. I'm not saying that we didn't break the barrier. We did internally amongst
Yes,
ourselves, but is it enough to create that grasp globally? That's what I'm suggesting.
I think with the number of young directors and scenarists, Arab, yes, even in Egypt or in Saudi Arabia, I think will arrive in, shortly.
Hopefully, I don't
Because
know.
because
Don't get
now
me
now
wrong.
we have a huge creative directors, writers, and even talents.
No, it's a great point about the SVODs being used as a vehicle to drive that international growth. I'm seeing adolescents there within the top 10 with regards to all content this year. That is a prime example of Netflix taking a risk on the storytelling and a drama which really challenged the status quo, and that reached an international audience, because everyone who watched it could actually relate to it. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out with using the SVODs as a vehicle to really showcase that international voice. But I wanted to keep on the subject, but then start to cut this data by original language. Now, this again looks at the global share of just scripted shows, excluding animation, by non-English language. And what's interesting to see is that Hindi content leads this global demand for non-English language. And in fact, if you couple Hindi language content with all other Indian language that we tracked, that share of overall non-English language is over a quarter. We talked about the growth and the explosion of Arabic content. This isn't slowing down. So over the past 5 years, we've seen a 16x domestic growth in global demand share for Arabic content. And internationally, that's 13x. So year on year, we looked at the numbers, and that's continuing to grow, although be it from a smaller base. So I'd love to open this topic up, and particularly in and around Turkish content as well, which is always consistently punched above its weight on a global stage. And then also from the different angle, what lessons can we draw from Bollywood's global success in building demand, exporting talent, and creating that cross-border appeal? So any thoughts on this slide?
Sorry, I lost you for a second. I couldn't hear the last part. Can you
Yeah,
repeat it, please?
no, absolutely. So just love to open this up to the group, particularly in and around Turkish content, which has consistently punched above its weight on a global stage. And then also from the Indian content angle and Bollywood in particular, what can we draw from its global success in building demand, exporting talent, and creating that cross-border appeal?
Sure. So, for Indian content, as I said, that we are producing more than 200,000 of original content per year. So that means there are people who are sitting on content, who are developing content, creating it, and there are actors who have a global appeal. So it's about getting the right content and then offering it to a wider audience. So you can see, we can now leverage the actors and the directors that we have in house in India. So because the talent pool is so high, and we have platforms which are reaching out to 190 plus countries, so you have everything. That's why the content flows easily. Also, what happens is, once a movie is produced, it's not a singular approach. Like, if I have to take an example of RRR, this movie was made in the regional language, but then it traveled across India and the world, and one of the songs reached Oscars as well. So the content is reaching there. So it's all depend how you're creating it and what you're creating it. And the third element is making it available for all type of audiences in their language, in their region, as per their viewing habits. So how do you reach them is the key. So another example would be with us. We have a lot of formats which we have created on our own, our own scripts. So in last Ramadan, we created a drama called it was a co-production called Agmat Ainak. Now this is a story inspired by a Hindi content of ours, which is Aapki Antara. Now this story is based on autism. So you have a story. Now you're reaching to other audiences through making that series in Arabic. So this is a pan-Arab drama now, and this drama was picked up by close to 10 platforms, including SPC. So you have content. The key is to make it available in the language and the region as per the viewing habits of your audience.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, I think I want to step on the Turkish, the Turkish formats, uh, the Turkish content, obviously, NBC played a big role in the early, when we launched the Turkish drama into the Arab world, and what helped us is two levels. I'm talking now more on a local level. What helped us is two levels: is the fact that you have the Turkish looks like the Arabs, but they have that European feel, so it gives you that glam look. And I think the dubbed Syrian helped because they also look like Syrians, obviously, or we look like Turks due to the Ottoman Empire and the historical and what have you. So it was accepted. And I think the next level of Turkish going globally, I think one is they have this universal theme and cultural familiarity. When they tell the story, it's familiar. They talk about love and they talk about betrayal, and which is an accepted norm in terms of going it cross cultures and barriers. They have a great way of telling an emotional story. Storytelling. They're very good at building their characters. So regardless if it's dubbed or not, the way that it's done, the storytelling that it's done, it attracts these audience, and we see that in the adaptations that we have across NBC, that we play across Shahid and NBC. If I watched a show and it's very difficult for me to watch a show in English and then go watch it in Arabic or any other language the same way. But this has worked miracles with us, and that's because of the connection, that the way that they tell the story is amazing. Obviously, also their production values are superb. They are one of the top production values in terms of content. This is why we at NBC we have an agreement with the big producers in Turkey. It's something that the audience love, they consume, and they have a good balance between modernity and traditional when it comes to the type of content that they provide. So I think, and I think there is an engine in Turkey that are good at exporting this content, distributing this content. You find some content that is on YouTube, for example. Whether it's scripted or even unscripted. And this is how this. I think they use social media in a way where if people did not buy their content that is appearing on in Turkey, they open it, for example, on YouTube, and this is where they in a way market it, market their content, and then as people start to buy this content, they just block it from a geo standpoint, geography standpoint. But I think this is why Turkish appeal is massive, and they do a great job, and their production values are so amazing. I have to say, and their storyline, it's very in line with us. So all of us can relate to Latin America. I believe relate to they are, I think, one of the biggest buyers of Turkish content there. So I think Turkish grew. Obviously, the Chinese, we're seeing these, what we're now seeing on social media, these what we call 2-3 minute drama content that they are doing.
Microdramas.
Microdramas.
Micro dramas, and this is just blowing up massively. This is something that we're seeing. It's being adopted on social media, with especially on the younger audience. They're enjoying it. We've seen also, just to add, like on our content, when we have Bollywood and Japanese content, it's niche, but it's very young. It's Gen Z. You'll find them coming on screen to watch it. So if we had a similar graph where all this content lives older and more older content, while the Bollywood and the Japanese content that we haven't to put on our screens, you will find them very Gen Z, younger audience watch it. I believe Bollywood is just the positivity of the content that they have. They're just charming to watch. Bollywood content on screen, it just makes you happy, regardless of how real it looks or not, but you're just happy watching
It's a
it.
vibrant content, yes.
Yes, it is very much. Yes, very much.
Actually, adding to Rani about Turkish content, they have a very important point. The rating and the research they are doing during airing the episodes. It's a very important point, because upon this research, they can renew a season or stop the series. So they can have an idea about what's going with this series, if yes or not. So it's a very important about rating and research.
Thanks,
True.
everyone. So I'm really keen to get to some questions at the end. So a couple more slides and then we'll start to answer some of those questions. In particular, I guess this is super interesting because we've been running this chart year on year for the past 5 years, and it's unsurprising to see the cluster of flags in the upper right-hand quadrant. What we're looking at here on the x-axis is the travelability rank by country of origin, and that's coupled with the domestic demand rank. So yeah, like I mentioned, unsurprising to see that cluster in the top right quadrant, and then you can also see the likes of Indian content and Turkish content cutting through. But I really wanted to double click into the Egyptian flag. So, and this is the first time in the last 5 years that I've been updating this chart that I've seen Egypt cut through in the top 20 when it comes to exportability of content on a country of origin level. So, Fatima, with your experience in the Egyptian market, how do you see this momentum translating on a global scale? And I guess more broadly speaking, how do we see markets such as Saudi Arabia and the wider MENA region stepping up to play a bigger role in the international content landscape?
Actually, yes, Egypt is a pioneer in this industry. We can deny the effort of Saudi Arabia for building studios and emerging in series and production, and also UAE. but Egypt still dominating with some evidence, like for example, giant streaming platforms, when they decide to enter the MENA region, they launched Egyptian Arabic series, Egyptian language, like Yango with Water Hassas, like Todd with Sarab. Also Netflix with the showing up with of originals of Watch It and Shahid. They launched Paranormal and Abla Fahita. So we still, and as Rani said before, it's the Arabic Egyptian. It's the most comprehensible Arabic for the MENA region. So I think, and also for Ramadan peak, as we said, Egypt produces about 30 to 40 series. And also last year, 2025, we had another 50 Arabic series, non-Egyptian, but we can see only five made a hype. So yes, Egypt still dominating.
Amazing. Rani, any points on Saudi and their
Yeah, look, Saudi, I think with the shift that is happening in Saudi for the past few years, because Saudi now is opening up, and with the vision of the 2030, it's going across all verticals and all parameters and all industries, but they have a huge concentration on media generally. And media comes from UFC and the WWE and the matches that are happening in Saudi. Plus, obviously, we as MBC play a vast role into the growth of this. So obviously, the government is really helping into taking the media scene and the content scene into the next level. So we've seen that, we've seen a couple of we've seen a couple of content offering like Shari al-Asha, for example, which we talked about, Kharif al-Qalb, where it started to trickle out spillovers across other MENA regions and interests outside our borders. And I think this is because of storyline is a story. Story is a story. But Shari al-Asha, what's interesting about it, it's the era of it happened in the 1970s, which was a specific era in Saudi. I think the interest of Saudi generally culture is being accepted internationally. All eyes, we talked about how football now, is the eyes of football. People are coming internationally into Saudi. The whole what I call celebration of the Saudi culture now is coming up, and where everything's happening now in Riyadh and in Saudi Arabia. And I think there's a huge interest globally also on Saudi Arabia. Obviously, being Saudi Arabia being the center of the Middle East in terms of the power, and I think this is why we are seeing now a lot of Saudi content starting to have a spillover. And I think, like you said in the previous slides, Arabic content and Saudi content, you will start to see that slowly coming out. Again, Egypt has the history, as we said, but I think Saudi Arabia, and with the backing of the support of the government and how they want to grow it, I think we will start to see flickers of this in years to come on the same quadrant and slide that you are showing.
I totally agree with you, Rani, but actually you have another factor that Egypt represents almost 25% of MENA region population and the
Yeah,
internet usage.
of course,
So
of
we
course.
are we are a lot. that's, that's a big factor.
awesome. Okay, so last slide, just wanted to round off with a very similar slide in terms of metrics. Again, we're looking at the travelability here, but now on a subgenre level. So this chart clearly shows the likes of crime, drama, fantasy, and superhero series rank high on both axes, making them really strong bets for global success. Soap operas we touched on, and also talk shows, meanwhile, tend to stay local. Wrestling is interesting. That's grown internationally off the back of Netflix's WWE play. Another example of how the SVOD can be seen as a vehicle to really drive that international growth. And then interestingly, also children's content tends to travel really well, largely because it faces fewer language barriers. With that in mind, and very quickly, because I'm keen to get to one or two questions, what types of content do you think are best poised to break out globally, and how do we start to future-proof that on a demand level and also by subgenre? Any specific subgenres that are of interest in this chart that we want to highlight, or we can skip straight to questions?
No, family drama and romantic drama works. Let's be realistic. And our part of the world, any family saga, revenge, issues like that, we find them, flying. Sitcom, I sitcom. I'm assuming comedy as well. This travels and this does extremely well, and there is a constant demand. I think from an Arabic perspective, I'm not sure how fantasy drama can grow. I think the Indian and the can work on this fantasy drama because they have the infrastructure. I'm not sure if the Arabic content can help on, although it's obviously it shows that it's an opportunity, but I'm not sure how far fantasy drama can grow in the with the Arabic content. That's my intake on it.
So for us, in terms of Indian content, family and romance has worked so far. Um, and an example for this would be Mrs. on Z5. So this is a content which is based on what women goes through in her life, right? And this was a conversation starter. The social media, all the platforms were buzzing for this one particular content. So it depends on the type of content you're offering. And in terms of genre, I think family and romance will continue to lead. And crime and fantasy drama are still building up, they're still coming up. So it'll take time for them to develop and suit the audience preference or choices that they want. But for now, family and romance drama are still leading.
Amazing. Okay, cool. We're at time, but let's see if we can quickly look at one or two of the questions that have come in. And okay, cool. So I've got one for Rani. From an NBC group perspective, which genres are currently dominating viewership in MENA? And I know we've touched on this, so maybe just a very quick summary from your
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah. Anything with look, romance, as you said, romance. I love triangle. Always works. Always works. When it comes to the Gulf, it's always a family saga. If I'm gonna split them into that Gulf content and Saudi content, they like this family saga. So these are really, really, if you look at it, the really two top tier. A love triangle with revenge, with family saga, with issues, family issues happening, whether like we have Ummi, I think now that is airing on our screens and on OTT. It's about this girl who was taken from her mom and she's living and with a Cinderella type of story. This is getting huge, and the acting is superb. So these type of content and genres are working for us.
Awesome. Okay, the next one's for Tanvi. How does these audience behavior in key markets compare globally? Are certain genres performing stronger in South Asia and MENA compared to other regions?
So, see, by sheer population, Indians are everywhere, right? So, in terms of content, also, the content is more appealable to a wider audience. So, I don't have a specific number in hand, but in terms of production and then reaching out to audience, it's mostly 60 to 70% of the Indian content is now reaching to other regions. If I have to break down in terms of genre, it would be family, romance, and then thriller. These are the three genres which are working for our content as of now, like this year.
Amazing. Okay, cool. And then let's round off with one for Fatima. Have you noticed certain narrative themes or genre hybrids gaining popularity, like crime dramas with social commentary or reality shows with scripted elements?
I didn't get it on. You mean on linear TV or streaming or in general? You mean?
I think a blend of both. So in terms of narrative themes, how do we take two different subgenres and create a hybrid in terms of pairing different themes and moods? Is there
Uh,
anything you've noticed with regards to the production process or commissioning process where we're looking at multiple genres?
Most genres demand is, as Rani and Tanvi said, family drama, hidden pasts, family secrets, betrayal, love. And actually, I think it's based on we as Arab people, we always go to tradition and family dynamics and nostalgia. So it's always family drama with its secrets, past, in Turkish. Why Turkish drama is booming actually because it's based on family secrets, family bonding. So mainly it's family drama and for sure comedy.
Okay, awesome. And I'll round off with one last question because I really like this one. If budget were no limitation, what genre would you personally love to produce or commission right now and why? And that's open to anyone to answer, or all of you.
Historical.
Historical, Tanvi?
Yes, because no, yes, because we are a very rich region with history and civilization. So if it's no limit budget, it will be perfect for historical genre.
Absolutely. Lots of stories to be told. Same question.
For me, it would be a mix of crime and romance if I were to produce something.
And for you, Rani,
I like the historical because we are rich and we have a lot of history. But I will also put something. I don't know if it's a genre. Given the changes that is happening on the political scene, everyone is interested to see. Especially I'm talking about personal, Syrians. What happening in Syria? There's a politics and social plays a big role and. It's very interesting for people to get to get and understand the depths of from a political standpoint how things work. Yes, and for me it will be something political and something historical because we have a rich history, and there's so many stories that we can play around. And obviously we saw it with Muawiyah when we aired it. But there was a huge, and Umar when we did it before. um, every
Al-Hashashin
every
last
year,
year.
every Ramadan, there should be a history story, a moment from the Arab history. I think this will be amazing, and it is
And
controversial because everyone has a say. So that's the beauty about it.
Al-Hashashin in 2024 also.
Exactly,
You
exactly,
remember?
exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Perfect. Well, I'd like to thank you all for coming today. We're slightly over time, which warrants us having a potential follow-up session because there's still lots and lots of questions we need to answer and lots of conversation to be had. So thank you all for joining and thanks for everyone who attended. And we'll see you very soon.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank you
thank
so much.
you.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.